the quiet hum of a week gone by, a subtle shift had begun to take root, a fragile hope blossoming within the heart of an anxious grandmother. For 7 days, young Tony had been attending his speaking lessons, a journey into the unfamiliar world of specialized care, far from the familiar embrace of his rural home. His grandmother, a woman whose life had been etched by the sun and the soil, felt the weight of his absence with every passing moment. Her days, once filled with the rhythmic chores of a small farm, herding chickens, tending to ducks, sweeping the humble abode, now carried an additional, silent burden, the constant worry for her grandson. Each time her son, Hung, called home, her heart would clench. She sensed a hesitation in his voice, a nervous stutter, a subtle shielding of information that only intensified her fears. How is Tony truly doing there? She would ponder, her gaze distant, fixed on the distant horizon. Is he all right? Does he grasp what is happening around him? The absence of her daughter-in-law, further compounded her distress. I had yet to return, leaving a void that resonated deeply within the family, a poignant reflection of the sacrifices being made. The grandmother's mind, accustomed to the tangible challenges of farm life, grappled with the abstract, daunting specter of medical costs. Going to such a school, she mused, the words heavy on her tongue, it must be very expensive. Where will the money come from? The relief that often followed such anxious thoughts was the presence of Uncle Hung, a steadfast pillar of support in their small family, whose timely intervention had opened this new path for Tony. His selflessness, a quiet strength, often brought a fleeting calm to her troubled spirit. The image of her grandson, struggling with his speech, was a profound source of heartbreak. A mother's instinct, primal and powerful, yearned to offer solace, to alleviate his burden, yet she felt helpless, bound by the limitations of her age and circumstances. Today, Uncle Hung had promised to visit, a ray of hope in her otherwise monotonous routine. Yet, even when she tried to probe for details about Tony's progress or the expenses, Hung's answers were vague, reassuring her with a gentle, "No, it's okay, Mom. It's not expensive." She suspected he was shielding her from the harsh realities, afraid of causing her more worry. This unspoken act of protection, while loving, only deepened her underlying anxiety. She knew the costs of specialized care could be astronomical, a significant drain on even a more comfortable family's resources. The dedication of individuals like Uncle Hung, stepping in where the social safety net was thin, highlighted a common struggle in many developing regions: access to quality healthcare and education for children with special needs. As she waited, her eyes scanned the familiar path, a deep sigh escaping her lips. "I've been waiting for a long time," she murmured, "but I don't know if Uncle Hung will come back soon so I can ask him directly." Her faith was a constant companion. She offered silent prayers, asking for blessings upon her family, for good things to come. The thought of her grandchild, so innocent, facing such a challenge, stirred profound pity within her. "But now that I'm old," she reflected, her voice barely a whisper, "I don't know how much I can truly help." Despite this inner turmoil, her hands found comfort in the familiar rhythm of her daily chores. "Let me help as much as I can," she decided, a quiet resolve hardening her soft features. With a purposeful step, she headed out to herd the chickens, the mundane task a grounding force amidst her worries. The clucking of the birds, the rustle of leaves, offered a temporary respite, a brief escape from the persistent anxieties that clung to her heart like morning dew. The children's joyful cries shattered the quiet, a welcome interruption. "Say hello to Grandma," they chirped, their voices light and carefree. Uncle Hung, a figure of strength and reliability, had finally arrived, his presence a comforting anchor in the grandmother's storm of worry. "You're home, Uncle," she greeted him, her eyes searching his for reassurance. Yes, how's the situation at home? She inquired, her gaze sweeping over her small domain. My grandmother at home, Hung replied gently, his voice carrying the weight of compassion, only knows how to herd chickens and ducks, and clean around the house. Yes, I don't know what else to do. His words painted a picture of traditional life, of a woman whose world was simple yet deeply rooted in the rhythms of nature and household duties. This simple admission subtly underscored the profound chasm between her experience and the complex world of modern medical interventions. Yes, how's Tony? She pressed, her voice trembling slightly with anticipation. Hung motioned for them to sit, taking a deep breath before sharing the news. Grandma, Tony has developed a lot. A wave of relief, warm and almost dizzying, washed over her. Usually when I'm home, Hung continued, his words painting a vivid picture, I don't hear him say a word. But now, when I go downstairs, he knows how to call Grandma, call Mom, and other words, very clearly. A small, hopeful smile touched the grandmother's lips. This progress, she understood, was nothing short of a miracle, a testament to the dedication of the teachers and doctors. Today has been a full week, Hung affirmed, and I admit that the teachers and doctors downstairs have a different way of teaching. He expressed profound gratitude, acknowledging his foresight. Luckily, my uncle still thought of it. Come out so we could take them early. As for my mother and I, we wouldn't know where to take them. This simple statement carried a deeper implication, highlighting the disparity in knowledge and access to specialized services between urban and rural areas, a common challenge in many developing countries where information and resources are often concentrated in city centers. The doctor's words, relayed by Hung, echo the critical importance of early intervention. The doctor also said that luckily we went early, Hung explained, his voice serious. If we had left it until he was 3 years old, it would have affected his brain and nerves, and they wouldn't have been stable. He'd have lisped, and his mind wouldn't have developed very well, not like others. A shiver ran down the grandmother's spine, a stark realization of the precipice they had skirted. Luckily, we were able to take him in time, Hung concluded, his relief palpable. Yes, you also know this place, that place, that place, that's really lucky. For the family, yes, society is now also developed, but now there's nothing you can't find, just ask if there's this school. His comments reflected a modern optimism, a belief in progress and the accessibility of information in a rapidly developing world. However, the grandmother's experience painted a different picture. Now, go down and ask the locals, they're different, she thought, just give me. I don't know where that school is because I've never been there, I never ask people. This highlighted a persistent information gap, a digital divide that often separates those with access to modern knowledge from those whose lives are more traditionally rooted. Even with development, navigating complex systems like specialized healthcare can be daunting for those without prior experience or connections. They showed me to that school, Hung continued, describing the process. It's really quite lucky that I took him in time. If it takes too long, it will be very difficult later, like you, then you'll know, but like my mother and I, we know where. Yes. Many children are 4 years old but still can't say anything, Grandma. He painted a sobering picture of other children, struggling with more severe developmental delays. When we go down there, we'll know. Looking at the other children, they're much heavier than Tony. Going there, it's very boring, Grandma, looking at those children who are so naive, they don't develop like many other people, it's very pitiful. His words, filled with empathy, conveyed the emotional toll on parents and caregivers witnessing their children's struggles. The grandmother, though miles away, felt a pang of sorrow. I'm at home and I feel sorry, I call and ask all the time, she admitted. The police said, Mom, don't worry, Tony has improved a lot, he's much more willing to talk. But her underlying fear persisted. But I'm worried that it will be expensive, so will it cost a lot of money to go there, Grandma? She asked, the financial burden looming large in her mind. Hung quickly reassured her, his voice firm. No tuition fee, ma'am, only food fee, it's not that expensive. I can take care of this. He explained his rationale, a practical approach to an emotionally charged situation. I also calculated with the police and said that if studying with a teacher at school, the study time is only 2 hours each session, it's too short. And if I wait there, I don't know how long I'll have to wait until I finish studying, then I can say all the words clearly. This decision reflected a strategic, almost economic, calculation, maximize the learning impact for the effort and cost. It's a common dilemma faced by families, balancing the quality and intensity of care with the associated financial and time commitments. The police, a local term for Hung's wife, was a capable woman, deeply involved in Tony's care. I've discussed with the CA for a long time, Hung continued, referring to his wife again. He said that going to extra classes outside, there are also teachers who teach outside of extra classes. The cost is quite expensive. The financial strain was a real concern for them both. The CA is also worried and says that he doesn't have money, but I covered him for a long time. I also say that I don't have to worry about this. This dialogue revealed the unspoken anxieties of many young couples, navigating the dual responsibilities of providing for their families and securing specialized care for their children. The struggle for financial stability, a universal challenge, was acutely felt here, compounded by the specific needs of their child. The CA is also worried for a long time, but finally agreed, Hung recounted, acknowledging the significant trust and sacrifice involved. Now, I feel sorry for the money and I'm worried that later I won't have money to pay for tuition and other things. I haven't finished studying and I don't have money anymore. Now, waiting there is also suffering. His words painted a vivid picture of the relentless pressure, the constant calculation of resources against needs. I've decided that I will try to arrange for the CA and Tony down there. This was a monumental commitment, a testament to his unwavering determination to provide the best for his son. He understood the profound impact of this decision, not just on Tony, but on his wife, who would bear the brunt of the daily care. Before leaving for home, Hung had given his wife explicit instructions, born of experience and concern. Before I go home, I always tell him that eating and drinking, I can't be frugal. I have to eat enough nutrients to take care of the children. He understood that the demands of caring for Tony, especially in an unfamiliar city environment, required sustained energy and good health. There are many children down there, he explained, painting a picture of the bustling clinic or school. Some days I can't sleep all night. If I can get a little sleep in the middle of the night, one wakes up, one goes to sleep, another wakes up, and so on. This evocative description captured the exhausting reality of caregiving, the broken sleep, the constant vigilance, the profound physical and emotional toll it exacts. It was a life of unending devotion, often unseen and unacknowledged by the outside world. It's very difficult, Hung admitted, his voice softened by the memory. The most frightening thing is, I've been in the hospital before, I know it's very difficult. His own past experiences with illness had given him a profound understanding of medical hardship. If it's another disease, I can help you get traditional medicine, but as for this, I haven't been able to get it yet. This reflected a common reliance on traditional remedies in rural Vietnam, a first line of defense against many ailments. However, for specialized conditions like speech delays, modern medicine offered the only viable path, creating a cognitive dissonance for those accustomed to traditional approaches. If you want to know what else you need, just tell me. This doesn't need traditional medicine. This is usually how they practice their voice and tongue, etc., so Cho can speak. Hung clarified, emphasizing the specific nature of Tony's therapy. He then mentioned medical tests. They also run calcium tests, like calcium deficiency or something. This touched on the scientific diagnostic processes that were likely foreign to his grandmother's understanding. The grandmother, ever practical, weighed the financial implications. If it's too expensive, then tell CA to stay there and take care of Tony. Her suggestion was born of her concern for their family's finances, a reflection of the hard choices often made by families facing such circumstances. If it's too expensive, you've just taken care of your family. If it's difficult, just tell me. I'll tell Ha to help as much as I can. Ha has been doing it for a long time and has saved a little money. Her offer to enlist another family member, Ha, underscored the deep familial bonds and communal support networks that are vital in Vietnamese culture. It was an offer of collective strength, a shared burden. Hung, however, was resolute in his independence. Yes, when things get difficult, I'll ask you and Ha, but for now, I can still take care of it. This isn't a big deal. No, thank you for your kindness. His pride, coupled with a desire to shield his aging mother from further worry, was evident. CA has been helping the house like this. It's been wonderful. Without you, I didn't know who to ask for this time. I've been down there with you all the time. He expressed profound gratitude for his wife's tireless efforts, a recognition of her sacrifice and commitment. His presence at the clinic had been invaluable, a source of moral and practical support for his wife. It's been a week since I had to go back to work at the office, Hung explained, detailing his recent schedule. After my business trip, I got 2 days off on the weekend. I stayed there with the police all the time. Now, at the beginning of the week, I have to go back to work all the time. The demands of his job pulled him away, creating a difficult balancing act between professional responsibilities and family care. His wife, the police, had also shared a small, poignant detail from their time in the city. The police also told me that they bought 2 bunches of bananas from an old lady. They couldn't harvest them, they were afraid they would ripen. This simple act of compassion, buying bananas from an elderly street vendor, offered a glimpse into their daily struggles and the small human interactions that punctuated their lives. It showed a willingness to help others, even when facing their own challenges, a reflection of the deep-seated empathy within their culture. I wanted to return them to the old lady, Hung continued, but I discussed it with her and said, the bananas are almost ripe now. If I return, they won't be able to sell them anyway. I'll miss the day so I can go cut them down and sell them. This was Hung's plan, a pragmatic approach to a perishable problem. His wife had expressed concern about his reputation. I've been giving the police a lot of money, but they'll pay a penny or so, ma'am. The police always say that you're a police officer, so you shouldn't go to the market, but I said no, the police are still human, and it's okay to go to the market. The wife's apprehension reflected societal expectations of men in uniform, a subtle pressure to uphold a certain image. However, Hung's response was a testament to his grounded nature, his belief in the dignity of honest labor, regardless of profession. The police are afraid that I'll get a bad reputation. I earn money legitimately from my own work. It turns out there's nothing to be ashamed of. His words were a quiet declaration of integrity, a rejection of superficial judgments. I've seen it all the time. The police are right, sir, let me go to the market. It's easier for women to go sell, the grandmother interjected, offering her own perspective rooted in traditional gender roles. My son also goes to the market with the police for a few days, and he's used to it, so you don't have to go anymore. Grandma, just let me go. She was eager to take on the task, to contribute in any way she could. Because the 2 bunches of bananas are very big. I always heard the police say that those 2 bunches of bananas must be about 50 kilograms. Her concern for Hung's well-being was evident. "You're old and have bones and joints, so you should stay home and let me go. I'll just go for a while and it'll be done. But today is the market day, I'll go for a while and then come back." Her determination to help was unwavering, despite the physical demands. The image of a frail grandmother attempting to carry 50 kilograms of bananas highlighted the resilience and self-sacrifice ingrained in the rural elderly. Hung, however, recognized the impracticality and the potential strain on his grandmother. "I think you can't carry 50 kilograms, so you take me to the market. Let me sit and I'll sell it." His offer was a thoughtful compromise, allowing her to be present and involved without bearing the physical burden. "Yes, if there's anything, I'll call you later. Let me get ready and go. If I'm late after the market, I'll have to go to the office. I only have to work in the afternoon. I only have the morning off. If there's anything, just call me." His schedule was tight, a constant juggle between his responsibilities. "Let me go to the office to work. Don't worry. I'll take care of the house at home. I'll take care of it. I'll tell you all the time. You don't have to worry about staying at home. You always help me." His words were meant to reassure, to acknowledge her unwavering support. "Yes, I just finished raising chickens. I just raised chickens. Yes, I'll go change my clothes and then I'll go. If it's hard to sell, just call me." The grandmother, despite her age, remained active, her life a testament to perseverance. "Yes, there's too much grass in this vegetable bed, and all the vegetables have been eaten. Let's pull them out. When the children come back, what kind of vegetables can they plant?" Her thoughts had already shifted to the next task, to preparing the garden for future harvests, a symbol of hope and continuity. "Grandma, stay home. I'll take the time to go for a while." "Where did you go to cut the grass? Is it far or near?" Hung's questions were practical, focused on efficiency, but also revealed his concern for her well-being. "Ca always said it was right here, outside the market, just a little bit, but that corner is raining," the grandmother observed, her eyes scanning the sky. "Or should you wait until the rain stops before you go? Just cut it. I see it's raining lightly out there, not too much, and besides, this season the sun and rain are very erratic. I don't know when it will stop. I'll take advantage of it. After I finish going, I still have to go to work in the afternoon. The road to the office is very far. I'll take advantage of it, go home early. When I get to the office, I'll go for a while, but it's okay, it's just a light rain, ma'am." Her pragmatism, born of a life he lived in harmony with the unpredictable elements, was evident. She understood that delays were costly, both in time and opportunity. Hung's dedication was profound. He had just returned home and was already preparing to brave the elements for his family. "I feel sorry for him," the grandmother thought, watching her grandson prepare. "Everything comes. I just got home and now I have to go to work. I pray for my children to have good health to overcome this period. I want to help my children but I don't know how." Her internal monologue was a window into her anxieties, her deep love for her family. Hung, meanwhile, was already amidst the hustle and bustle of the market, his voice cutting through the din. "Buy bananas, brother, sister, buy bananas, sister, how much are these bananas? I'm 10,000 VND per bunch, sister, 10,000, grandma." His call echoed through the crowded stalls, a testament to his industrious spirit. The market, usually a vibrant tapestry of sounds and scents, was subdued by the light rain. Yet, Hung's determined voice pierced through the muted atmosphere, a familiar call for bananas, brother, bananas, aunt, buy bananas, here are the bananas, everyone, 10,000, brother. He was a picture of resilience, a young man shouldering the weight of his family's needs with unwavering resolve. His presence at the market, selling bananas, was more than just a transaction. It was a deeply cultural act, a testament to the dignity of labor and the relentless pursuit of sustenance in a world where opportunities could be scarce. In Vietnamese culture, the market is not merely a place of commerce but a social hub, a space where community ties are woven and strengthened, where life's stories unfold amidst the bartering and banter. Hung, despite his professional job, embraced this humble task without shame, embodying a core value of his heritage. Meanwhile, a different kind of story was unfolding elsewhere. The old house, a place of profound memory and painful separation, stood silent. "It's been half a year now and today I come back to my house," a voice murmured, filled with a mixture of nostalgia and apprehension. This was Hung's father, a figure long absent, now returning to a landscape irrevocably altered by his past choices. "The house I planted, surely someone moved in here to live and renovated it to be this grand." His observations were sharp, noting the changes to the property. This new set of tables and chairs must have belonged to the new homeowner. "It still smells, son. They probably came here to repair it. I don't know where the owner went. Should I sit here and wait?" His return was fraught with complex emotions, regret, hope, and the daunting challenge of facing the consequences of his actions. The concept of home in Vietnamese culture extends beyond mere brick and mortar. It encompasses family lineage, ancestral spirits, and a sense of belonging that is deeply spiritual. To lose one's home, particularly through financial hardship, carried a heavy social and emotional stigma. He hesitated, then called out, "I don't know if Mon is home. I'm asking who owns this house now. I'm asking if you know. I don't know if Mon is home. Come over to my house and see. Mon, is Mon home?" His voice, strained with uncertainty, sought connection. A familiar voice responded, "Oh, it seems like someone is calling me. Mon, yes, who is that? Is that you? Are you home?" Mon, a neighbor and friend, appeared, his surprise evident. "Oh, uncle, it's been a long time since I've seen you. Come in, uncle." "Yes, where have you been? Come in and sit here so I can talk. Where have you been? It's been a long time since I've seen you." Mon's genuine curiosity and warmth offered a small reprieve from the father's internal turmoil. The informal, familial address uncle highlighted the close-knit nature of rural Vietnamese communities, where neighbors often treated each other like extended family, sharing sorrows and joys alike. The father, however, was not yet ready to share the full weight of his past. "This is very complicated, my dear. Let me tell you later." He redirected the conversation, his discomfort clear. "Are you still well these days?" "Yes, I'm still well, uncle." The exchange of pleasantries, a crucial social ritual, masked the deeper, unspoken narratives between them. "Is your job stable?" "Yes. How is Hero these days?" The father, cautiously, inquired about his son. Hung, referred to here as Hero. "Hero recently changed jobs. It's only been a month or two now." Mon's response was simple, yet it carried a hidden layer of information, hinting at instability. "Is it okay?" He said the job there is far away and a bit difficult. His previous job was stable, so why did he change jobs? The father's concern was genuine, a belated awakening to the struggles his son had endured. Mon explained, he said his term had ended and his superiors transferred him to another place. "Uncle." This was a euphemism, subtly hinting at the broader economic pressures that often compel individuals to seek new employment, sometimes in less favorable conditions, a common narrative in a dynamic labor market. The father's regret was palpable. "Hey, Mon, do you know anything about my family story? I also heard the Hero talk about it. I think I regret it very much. At that time, I was reckless and I had to let my children suffer. Now the hero is struggling so hard. His words were a raw confession, a heavy burden lifted after years of silence. The recognition of his past mistakes, and the suffering they inflicted on his family, was a crucial step towards personal redemption. Do you know who owns this house? Now someone has bought this house, Uncle. Mom's confirmation of the sale was a harsh reality check. I don't know if Hung can pay all the debt, but as for the money to redeem the house, I still keep it, my dear. The father revealed his long-held secret, the money saved for the specific purpose of buying back his family's home, a symbol of his enduring, albeit delayed, commitment. The money I mortgaged this house, I still keep. I haven't spent it yet, my dear, he reiterated, his voice filled with a fragile hope. That's great, Uncle. Hiro told me that he paid off all the debt, but he still hasn't collected enough money to redeem this house. Mom's confirmation of Hung's immense struggle highlighted the son's unwavering loyalty and immense personal sacrifice. The father's face brightened. Now that I'm back, I will redeem the house. My mother and I will be together again. The dream of reunification, of restoring the family unit, was his driving force. That's great, Uncle. When I'm back, does Hiro know yet? Mon inquired, understanding the delicacy of the situation. Uncle, I don't dare to let Hung know. I'm afraid he'll be shocked because when I left before, it was a big shock to him. The father's caution was born of past trauma, a deep awareness of the emotional scars he had left on his son. The sudden departure of a parent, particularly a father, could leave profound and lasting emotional wounds, disrupting the very foundation of familial trust. So I don't dare to let him know. Yes, take it slow, Uncle. I see that Hiro is still very angry with me. That's why I don't dare to tell him that I'm back. The father's insight into his son's lingering resentment was astute, a sign of his growing self-awareness. In my opinion, you should redeem this house first, then let him know that you're also planning to. I'm planning to redeem the house and then take it slow. Mom's advice was pragmatic and culturally sensitive, suggesting a tangible act of atonement before a direct confrontation, allowing the father to demonstrate his commitment through action. I will let him know. Yes, Mon, yes. Do you know the new owner of this house? When you left, you mortgaged it to loan sharks. I don't know who the new owner is. Do you know? The father's question was urgent, the key to his redemption. He recalled the harsh reality of dealing with informal lenders, a common but perilous recourse for those in financial distress in many parts of the world, often leading to predatory interest rates and property loss. Mon admitted his limited knowledge. I've only been here once, Uncle. They keep leaving early and coming back late all the time. The other day, Hiro asked me to ask for the owner of this house. His words revealed that Hung himself had been quietly seeking a way to reclaim his family's legacy. I've only been here once, I saw only one woman at home and didn't see any relatives. Hiro asked me to go over and ask if he also intends to redeem the house. He wants to meet the new owner so he can ask if it's possible for him to redeem it. The convergence of their intentions, father and son unknowingly working towards the same goal, created a poignant moment of dramatic irony. I live nearby, so I'll go over and ask for you. If anything, contact me. Yes, wait for her to come home from work so I can go over and ask. Mon's willingness to mediate was invaluable, a testament to the enduring power of community support. If anything, contact me soon. Yes, where are you now? Are you still renting a small room to live on? Mon inquired, his concern extending beyond the immediate task. Yes, I'm still keeping the money here. I'm also taking it with me to redeem the house. Once I redeem the house, I'll let Hiro know. Yes, I'm still keeping the money here. Yes, Please keep it carefully and let's see." The father clutched the money, a tangible representation of his penance and hope. Its safekeeping, over such a long period, underscored the depth of his intention. "The new homeowner just came back. I'll go over and ask for anything. Please let me know as soon as possible, okay?" "Yes, uncle. Drink some water. I'm so happy, uncle. This amount of money is still enough, uncle. You still keep it, uncle. Uncle, I haven't spent a penny." "That's great." Mom's joy was genuine, a reflection of the communal relief at the possibility of the family's reunification. "I see the hero working hard. He borrowed from all his brothers and then borrowed from this person and that person, even from the agency. He paid off his debt. I know, but I understand this too well, uncle. You caused the problem, making the children suffer because of you." Mom's words, though gentle, were a direct acknowledgement of the father's culpability and the immense burden Hung had carried. It was a moment of truth, a crucial part of the healing process. "Now that you're back, I will make up for the hard time of the children. I hope you live nearby. Try to contact that family so that uncle can redeem my house, okay?" "Yes, okay. Now I have something to do. I have to go home. If anything, I'll contact you." The father's resolve was clear, his focus fixed on making amends. "Yes, I have your number. I still have it." "You still use the old number? You still use that number?" "Yes, if anything, contact me." "Yes, wait for them to come back. I'll go over and ask them. Try to help you." "Yes, if anything, I'll contact you." "Okay, go home." "Thank you." "Okay, okay, okay. Thank you, don't worry. Luckily you're nearby." The exchange ended with reassurances and expressions of gratitude, the promise of cooperation hanging in the air. "I wouldn't know. Ask hoai. Your house is still intact, it's still the same as before. Do you see nothing has changed, my child?" "Yes, or now I will hold this money to help you, then when you meet the homeowner, you come, we'll work together." Mon offered to hold the money, a gesture of trust and practical assistance. "Oh, I don't dare, sir, I'll just contact you. If there's anything, you can talk directly to the homeowner. I don't trust you, sir, I'll hold it for you. I trust you, but when it comes to money, I don't dare, just hold it." The father's humility and caution regarding money, a source of past pain, was striking. "When I can make an appointment with them, you can come and talk to them. That's fine. If I can make an appointment, you and I will talk to them. Please keep it safe. Try to help me." "Yes, luckily I live nearby. Otherwise, I wouldn't know. Contact AI to redeem the house." The plan was set, a delicate negotiation awaiting. "What's wrong, sir? I can help you with anything. The house hasn't changed, right?" "Yes, I see that the new owner just bought this set of tables and chairs. The house is still the same, but the other day I came in and saw it was still the same." "Thank you. Now you're a little busy, sir. I'll excuse you. Come home." "Yes, I'm home. If anything, please try to contact me." "Yes, I'm home. Yes, I'm home." The conversation concluded, leaving the father with a renewed sense of purpose, yet still burdened by the unspoken apology to his son. Back at the grandmother's house, the rain had eased, but the air remained cool and damp. "Hello, Uncle Hung is probably all wet. Poor him. He worked so hard. When I get home, I have to go to the office. It's strange. It's not raining here, the sun is still shining." Her observations were tinged with worry for her industrious grandson. "Hello, Grandma. Yes, you're home. Yes, you're all wet. I looked here. I saw it raining all the time, but luckily there were a lot of people buying it. They like to eat bananas. They sold out in the moment and they were all gone. I'll bring one back so that when it's ripe, Grandma can eat it later. Hung's cheerful report brought a smile to her face, easing her worries about his market venture. He had returned wet but triumphant, a small victory in a life filled with challenges. The gesture of bringing back a banana for her was a simple act of filial piety, a deeply cherished value in Vietnamese families, where respect and care for elders are paramount. Is the market crowded? Today it's raining, they're closed, they don't go to work, so there are a lot of people. Hung explained the surprising surge in customers, a small mercy in an otherwise difficult day. I was at home, I was worried that my son wouldn't be able to sell it, but he was able to sell it all. Yes, poor you, you're all wet. Yes, look, go change your clothes. After that, take the pill and take it. You'll get sick. The rain is very poisonous. The grandmother's concern for his health was immediate and maternal. She knew the dangers of exposure to the elements, especially the poisonous rain, a common belief in rural areas highlighting the vulnerability to illness. It's just a little rain, Grandma. You're okay. After that, let me go cook rice. After you eat, you can go to the office. Hung brushed off her worries, ever focused on his next task, his duty. Yes, I'll probably go now. The road is quite far now. I'll go now, I'll still have time. I'll do it on the way. If I'm hungry, I'll run into the restaurant to eat a bowl of pho or a bowl of noodles. I'll eat later. Now, but waiting for the rice to cook will take a long time. I don't know. I know, I'll cook first. I'm afraid you'll be tired from the road. Yes, it's not yet noon, but you can comfortably travel up there. That's just in time. If you finish cooking, you won't be in time in the afternoon. If you don't have time, then go change your clothes. The grandmother's insistence on feeding him before his long journey highlighted her traditional role as a caregiver, ensuring his strength for the demanding day ahead. The act of preparing a meal was not just about sustenance, it was an act of love, a tangible expression of her care. Yes, rainwater is very poisonous. It's okay, Grandma. It's just a little rain, but it's not enough to wet all your clothes. I just went to the market and I was in a hurry to come back. Otherwise, I'll buy some clothes for you. Tony and I some cold clothes. It's starting to be winter and it's very cold when you wake up in the morning. Hung, ever thoughtful, worried about the approaching cold season and the need for warm clothing, especially for Tony. This concern for practical needs, amidst the larger struggles, underscored his comprehensive approach to caring for his family. I was in a hurry to come back. It's not too late, I'll buy them for everyone later. You don't have to buy them, Uncle. You still have old clothes to wear. It's okay. You can take care of that money. The grandmother, embodying the self-sacrificing spirit of her generation, urged him to prioritize Tony's needs above her own. Tony, I'm afraid that Tony will be in the hospital and it will be expensive. I know that too, but now everyone needs to have them. Even in winter, they need to have warm clothes. It's miserable to leave it alone until I get sick again. I'll leave it at work for me to buy next time. For this time, I'll probably not be able to come back until next weekend. On the weekend, I